This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 319.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. Sadly, there are no WordCamps coming up, as we still know that we are all under a stay-home, shelter-in-place type of environments in the world as we are today. So no WordCamps, but there are plenty of webinars out there, live webinars, live Facebook things, and happy hours, and just people getting together. So definitely check that out. If you know of any, by all means, share them, tag KitchensinkWP, and I will reshare them, or tag Hey Adam Silver. If it's just me on Twitter, I can reshare that for you as well if you want me to do so. And just tag, I don't know, community, or WordPress community, something like that. So we'll figure it out. All right, moving on. Segment 1 in the news. A handful of things to talk about here, actually. First and foremost, WordPress 5.4 did release last week as expected. A whole bunch of stuff going on there. And not only that, but there is also a 5.4 field guide that is over in the WordPress.org blog. I will link to that in the show notes. It's pretty interesting that they have this little field guide to talk about it. So check that out as well. Just so you know, there are 122 enhancements and feature requests, 210 bug fixes, and more, of course. A lot of it in code. And how many people, does it say how many people were contributors? I don't see the number here handy, so I don't have that to share with you. Anyway, but check. Oh, wait. No, I don't have that. So anyway, 5.4, my recommendation always is to make a backup of your site if you can on a staging server, possibly desktop server, possibly a live server, whatever, something, and then test it, make sure everything works, make a backup, test it, and then roll it out on your live site. All right. Also in the news, Meetup.com is the meetups that are part of our lives so much in the WordPress space. They were acquired a year and a half ago or so by WeWork. They have spun up away now from WeWork, and there's a link in the show notes to that. And they were it was a private investment group, so they are now back on their own, which is I think a good thing. There were some issues with the founder and creator of WeWork and financials and some other stuff, so they have they have parted ways. So now Meetup is back away on its own. So. Also in the news, WPEngine has indicated that they are going to deprecate HTACCESS with PHP 7.4 on their server. Link on the show notes as well explains what HTACCESS does. I may do an episode about HTACCESS, about forwards and stuff in the future. We'll see. I just went through this issue on a different host with a whole URL issue, a .net to a .org situation of a previous developer before I came into the project. So I'm a fan of HTACCESS, but it's interesting that they're going to deprecate it and what that means going forward. But if you're on WPEngine, and I'm a fan of them, I do recommend them for some clients, keep that in mind that it's going to go away with 7.4 of PHP 7.4. So keep that in mind. What else here? Two more things. Well, my friend Aurooba, she's a developer. She does some work for me as well. She is giving a discount on her audit service over at WPAUDIT.SITE by 60%. So just go ahead and click on WPAUDIT.SITE. Save 60%. Thanks for her for that. And the gentleman over at WPSiteSync, the makers of Desktop Server, the company is ServerPress, they have the WooCommerce syncing released as well. And I did some beta testing on that a few months ago. And I think Mark did a video on that. It's over on their YouTube channel. I linked to that in the show notes as well. I think that's it. It's a big news day there. So, news week. All right, moving right along. Segment 2, the meat and potatoes. This week, we are doing question and answer, listener questions. It's been 8 weeks, so every 8 weeks I do this. So I have 3 questions from one person. These are all from Guy, so thank you, Guy. And I wanted to just kind of knock these out in one fell swoop. So because of what's going on, they are moving. Guy says we're moving our local WordPress meetups to online presentations using Zoom. Any tips or tricks? It'll be his first live online presentation. So I gave him. I suggest all of you 3 tips and tricks here. Number 1, test it with someone else first and earlier than the actual time of. So maybe a day earlier. And kind of this is what I do. Oddly enough, I take my old photography background in this. I will test it at the same time of day, if I can, that the meeting is going to happen. That way you know what's happening in your house or in your environment, in your home office, wherever it may be, who's home, who's around, same type of day, and same type of bandwidth in general that's going on as well. So just an idea there. Number 2 on that one is use Ethernet. If you can hardwire, definitely hardwire versus using Wi-Fi. And number 3, have a really good USB microphone headset, something not built into your computer, a third party, 1 ear, 2 ears, separate microphone, XLR, something, but have that ahead of time. You don't want to use the computer in your, the microphone and or camera necessarily on your computer because your computer is probably the fan's going to turn on. Zoom takes a lot of power, so fan's going to kick in and they're going to hear that. So his second question, this is also from a guy, he's been tasked with talking about creating front pages and landing pages with the block editor. I have to quickly learn about that. With that said, what would you use? Oh yeah, what would I use to demonstrate the process? He's thinking maybe local by Flywheel or desktop server. Last year he bought, he hasn't used it, if that license will still work. So I suggest either, yes, whatever you feel most comfortable in, Flywheel or desktop server will work just fine. I'm more familiar with desktop server, obviously. I use it every day. Also, you're going to want to test that ahead of time. Make sure you have everything ready. And not only that, not just test that it works as far as the software, the service, Flywheel, local or desktop server, but have your text ready, have stock images ready, have it in a folder on your desktop, clean your desktop off, because I can tell you, looking for images randomly, sporadically, unless you go to like Pexels, that's fine, but just having stuff local will make you that much faster. So practice, okay? Last question he has is, if a library wants to host an online book discussion with an author, what would be a good platform to use? Requirements are to have people register for it, and they want to be able to capture registrants' emails. Zoom was the first thought, but not sure about the registration portion. So it depends on budget. Zoom can totally do this. It really can. You could also probably go through Eventbrite if you really wanted to, but I would just stick with Zoom. I think Zoom has Zoom webinars or Zoom classrooms. It's a higher level package than I pay for my Zoom. I pay like $15 a month, but you can definitely do webinars, take payments, have registration, etc. You could also check out like Webinar Ninja. I have an account there. I bought a lifetime account like 10 years ago. Webinar Jam is another one. And I think I said the other one was Eventbrite. So it depends on the budget really. So, but Zoom, nothing wrong with Zoom at all. So there are guys' questions. That's 3 out. And I have 2 more. No, maybe 1 more here. This was sent in by Paul. I think it's Paul. Oh, Paula. Excuse me, Paula. What are the differences between WordPress.com and WordPress.org? Ooh, this is a classic question. I'll get this from time to time, a couple times a year. Well, one of the major differences between the two is who's actually hosting your site. With WordPress.org, you host your own blog, your own website. You go to a third-party host like WPEngine, SiteGround, who else? I'll just stop with those 2, I guess, for the moment. And you're in charge of everything. You get your own theme. Also, like, if you're using Beaver Builder, Divi, doesn't matter what theme you're using in that case, but you're in charge of it all. WordPress.com, you run the whole thing. WordPress.org. WordPress.com takes care of all the hosting for you, and you don't have to download a thing or worry about it. Or you're paying for the hosting, and you're paying for backups and security, all that kind of stuff on your through them. And the .com to start with is free. If you wanted to say adam.wordpress.com, that is free. If you want to own adamsilver.com, then you have to pay for the domain. You can do that through them as well, but they manage it for you. So that's the main difference right about who's hosting it, who manages it. WordPress.com used to be very locked down. You couldn't add plugins. You couldn't do anything but what they gave you. You can do that now. They have a business plan, which makes things that much easier to do so. I recommend it for certain people. It makes total sense. They have WooCommerce integration. And once you update to plugins, once you update to business and you can get plugins, they run that whole thing on the back end for you. You never see that happen. You have to worry about it. You just say, I'm going to pay $300, I think it is, a year. You can now upload plugins and themes. You can have WooCommerce there. It's pretty amazing. It's rock solid. It's a really large multi-site, technically, if I'm not mistaken. So my suggestion is there are plenty of graphics and whatnot out there. I can try to find one, maybe put one in the show notes or link to one. If you're a beginner blogger, if you're just starting out and you're not really worried about making money on your website just yet, go ahead and go to .com by all means, definitely. If you're a business or someone who wants to make money on your site and kind of growing and you want more control, you want to really own everything outright on your own, then definitely check out WordPress.org, which is self-hosted. It gives you all the freedom, the flexibility, grow your website, do what you want, etc. So yeah, primarily it's just that hosting is the key thing to start with, and what you can do, what you can't do, what levels. So .org, it's all you, all your own, and it's a bit more of an investment in time and money. .com, they're going to manage it for you, just some money up front, a yearly kind of thing, but not as much technical knowledge needed. So there you go. Hope that helps for you, Paula. And I think that's it for the questions. Yeah, just four questions today. So this week. And moving on to segment 3, the tip and tool of the week. This week, I want to talk about, I'm going to mention one, it's a piece of software. If you're a Macintosh user, I'm going to recommend a new FTP client. I think I'm leaving CyberDuck. I'm going to bail. I've been using it for years. It's good. It works, but I've had some hiccups with it lately. I'm moving over to Transmit thanks to my friends, both Aurooba and Dustin. They both love it and use it. I'm buying it, and that is that. So if you're looking for an FTP client that also lets you connect to other services, FTP, SFTP, Dropbox, Google, iCloud, all those other things. It has a lot of features there. Check it out. It's not that expensive. It's like $45, I think, one time. So check it out. All right. That is it this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use the SpeakPipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you become a Patreon. KitchensinkWP.com/Patreon. If you want to sponsor the show, you can do that too. There's a form on the website. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. See you next week. Bye-bye.